So good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here with me. There's so many choices, and I'm glad you're here. Running up to the room just now, I ran into people who say, I have to check out now. So I feel bad, you know, they're missing great content wherever, right? But you're here, so yay, I so appreciate you. My name is Mel Coppola. I'm an Eden educator and mentor, and about 4 years ago, I left a good paying job because I had learned about the Eden alternative. And after working with my organization, I was in home care at the time, I knew that my role, my job, was to make this known wide. So I became a coach and a consultant, and I train and educate, and I'm thrilled to be doing it. But why am I talking about ageism? For so many reasons, and I'll share those with you. But first, let me get a feel for who's in the room. Nursing home? Okay. Assisted living? Okay. Home care? Independent CCRC? Anybody? Okay. Oh, there's so many others. Any like senior centers, adult days, anything like that? Okay. What have I missed? Okay, and I apologize. I should have said it that way. Yes, advocate. Yay, advocate. Great, advocates. Okay. How many of you in here are ageist? By the end of this session, you'll all have your hands up. I promise you. Oh, I'm so sorry. State surveyors. And ageist state surveyors, I'm sure, because we all are. I'm not picking on you. So we're here to talk about ageism, right? Because, does anybody know who this is? This is Hebe. Okay, she's the Greek goddess of youth. You see her lovely pitcher of water. But we've had this fascination with youth, right? It's beauty, it's innocence, it's hope and promise, and that's all great stuff. And we didn't start this. I mean, this isn't just our generation or our times. This has been going on for a very long time, right? We didn't start this fire. It's been burning and burning, right, since the world's been turning. But it's so prevalent, our love of youth, that back in, what was my year? I'm really bad with dates. 1513, Ponce de Leon set out to find the fountain of youth, which, thank God for Florida, we have it, so come on down. Okay, come see us. You'll help the tourism industry. But obviously that's not a real, it's a legend and has been disproved, of course. But in 1969, I think it was, Dr. Robert Butler actually coined the term ageism. And in a work he did in 1975, he said it's a process of systematic stereotyping or discrimination against people because they're old, just like racism and sexism accomplished with skin color and sex and gender. And it allows the younger generations to see older people as different from themselves, thus subtly cease to identify them as human beings. Cease to see them as human beings. That's pretty powerful. That's really powerful to me. So, like racism and sexism, and you'll forgive me, I always have notes with me. Sometimes I never look at them, and sometimes I do. Well, we're never going to understand what it's like to be another sex. We're never going to understand what it's like to be another color skin, another race, right? But every one of us in this room is going to become old. And isms just don't make sense because they create us and them mentality. That's that ceasing to see people as human beings. They're not us. They're different than us. Okay? This is so foolish. It's prejudice against ourselves, the selves that we are becoming. Why would we do this? And how did we get here? Are we born ageist? No. No more than we're born sexist or racist. These are learned isms, these isms, right? So when do you think we start learning about ageism? Pretty much as soon as we can hear. So I did not know this, and I have an 8-year-old grandson, and I'll tell you about him a little bit. But we start them really, really early, okay? And there was a study done by Brigham Young. It's an older study, but it was back in 2006, and they looked at 93 characters that were 55 years or older, portrayed anyway, from 34 Disney movies over a 70-year span. So that's how long this has been going on, okay? Listen to these numbers. 25% were portrayed grumpy. 12% were evil or sinister. 8% were helpless. 8% were sad, okay? 15% of those movies had only negative images of older people, only negative. Okay, do you think we're telling them this message? These are toddlers watching this, okay? 71% of those movies had at least one negative older character. Okay, and interesting, older male characters often had some positive role models. You might have clergy, you might have mentors, etc., but not the women. So there's a lot of sexism in here as well. The women were villains, often villains. So we start them with the Disney movies. What did little kids watch? Disney movies. Okay? My grandson spends lots of time with me and my husband. And I'm 60, I'll be 61 this month. Party! He's older than I am. And his grandparents on the other side are also about our age or older, 60s and 70s. He grew up with all of us. None of us have any kind of walking devices or health devices. Let me say that. Yet one day, about 4 years ago, when he's about 4, he comes, we're out in the yard, and he gets this bent up limb that he finds, and he's like, "Look, man, I'm an old man." Where does he get that from? I mean, that made me stop and think. That's not in his life experience, that's here, okay? What else do kids do? Okay? And not only do we have it as ageism, there's a whole lot of sexism involved. And if you can't read that, it says, don't become a cross old maid. If you can't get anyone to marry you, isn't this awful? Try to live your life like other women and don't show your disappointment.
Where did you get that? I can't even bear not to blurt that out.
I probably shouldn't say,
Okay.
but it's out there, okay? This is what we're teaching children. Okay, so this happened this year. One Sunday morning before Christmas, I'm having my coffee and looking at the Toys R Us brochure, because again, I have a grandson. So, you have to flip through. And this jumped out at me, Greedy Granny. Greedy Granny loves her sweets, but she's greedy and hogs them. So while she sleeps with her gnarled hands, I'm telling you, if you saw this, while she sleeps, we're telling the children to steal her biscuits. And if she wakes up, her dentures fly out. I was horrified. I went immediately onto Facebook and I was ranting. So who picked me up on my rant? Sally from Australia. Ashton Applewhite, if you haven't read This Chair Rocks, a Manifesto Against Ageism, I'll be mentioning that again. She got on it. There was like 5 or 6 of us blowing it all up on Facebook and going on their website and calling them out. Do we wonder why there's elder abuse when we're teaching children to steal from Granny? And that Granny is greedy. Okay, that's just this year. It's still on the market, by the way. That's what we do. And then you're probably going to say, Mel, really, this is a great shot. And it is a great shot, isn't it? All those beautiful faces. And here in the nursing home, they're there to sing for the elders. I think it's Valentine's Day. From the hearts, I'm guessing. Anything wrong with this? Is there anything that's not good here? Anybody? There's no interaction. right? Right, there's absolutely no, there could be some, but why are the children coming in? To do what? Entertain. So it's a passive engagement that's kind of an oxymoron. It's a passive activity at best. And where's the relationship? What are we teaching children here? That old people need somebody to come in and entertain them because they're bored. So we'll go in and sing for them. And I just experienced this with a home I'm working with too at Easter, doing an Easter egg hunt. Children came and sang. They went and found their eggs, and then they said goodbye. There was like nothing going on. So we're not doing justice. It's a great thing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this in and of itself, but take it further, you know? Help the children to understand that there needs to be a relationship here. Help your teams to understand that, okay? So we start them young, but we never stop, okay? These are the messages that assault us day in, day out. You can look anywhere and see this stuff. In fact, here's one that's, does anybody remember those signs along the roads when you would drive, incremental signs giving you messages? Well, that's what this is. It says, Senior Center, don't forget. Senior Center, remember to turn. Senior Center, wake up. I'm not kidding. So there's 5 signs along the road here, okay? You can't make this stuff up. That's one of them. Here's Ellen. This is an older picture, obviously. Better than a facelift, but why does she have to look 25? What's wrong with looking 55? Okay. Here's one. Cheer up, old age doesn't last that long. Old men should stick to hitting on old women. These are ads, guys. This is the worst one I've seen ever, ever, ever. This is an advertisement for a camera bag. And it says, the old bag you'll actually love. An older woman's body wrinkled. Okay? This is why we fear getting older. This is what we do to people. Okay? Old man yells at cloud. Now, I know it's The Simpsons, but it's like he's an old buffoon. Right? So they took, maybe he was just yelling at somebody, right? But that cloud's there, so we make him look stupid. I want to grow old with you, but not too old because old people are gross. Okay? And bring back sexy because heaven forbid, we know old people don't have sex. Come on. Or aren't sexy. This is terrible, what we're doing. And this is that undercurrent that all of us have been feeding on since we were 4. Every day we're assaulted, movies, books, billboards, magazines, Prevention magazine, it talks about anti-aging everywhere you go, okay? So it's in every part of us. And I want to share this with you too. This, anybody watch Super Bowl this past January? Yes? Okay. So this is one of the commercials. I don't know if you'll remember it.
Day-o, day-o.
Wake up early.
Clap on some cologne.
I'm 85 and I wanna go home.
Working tech support on the next new phone.
I'm 85 and I wanna go home.
So day, me say day, me say day, me say day.
I wanna go home.
Day, me say day, me say day, me say day.
I wanna go home.
Just got a job as a lifeguard in Savannah.
I'm 85 and I wanna go home.
I'm dropping 6 beats, they call me DJ Nana.
I'm 85 and I wanna go home.
Don't get mad. Get E-Trade, kiddo.
So what are they saying here? 'Cause I was pretty ticked when I saw it.
They presented the elders as buffoons.
They did, right? catching on fire, dropping all the bundles, using the water hose, right? And they're saying, we're taking money from the younger generation. Okay? That's right. E-Trade will fix it all for us. Shame on them, right? And this is on Super Sunday, the most watched day for ads. This was planned very carefully. Okay? It makes me pretty irate. Whoop, I forget that doesn't work. No, there wasn't, yeah.
There was nothing. People just thought it was funny. You know, if I made a comment, I was looked at like, what's wrong with you? It's funny.
Same with me. I agree. And let me tell you all that Ashton Applewhite has a blog called This Chair Rocks. And if you are a Facebook person, she does have a Facebook page. So she was all over it as well, just because I know that's where I was. Let me get that slide thing up.
Well, it's just one of those things that is still okay to make fun of.
Yes, it is. It's definitely the last acceptable prejudice, right? And this is what we've come to, age shaming. This was on Growing Bolder a few years ago, but I really like what Mark says here, that this age shaming that we've just been looking at is what makes us fear every wrinkle and dread the birthdays instead of celebrating our lives, right? And that age-defying and anti-aging are ageist terms. They're not good for us, ladies, right? And it's created by these ad agencies, these multi-billion-dollar ad agencies, right? So we are mortal. Aging's a fact of life. Can't be defied, should not be feared. Should be celebrated and embraced, along with the power and the possibility that comes with it, right? So we would not be, when we embrace it, we're not defying age, we're defining age. And I really, really like that. Okay. So, full disclosure, I used to laugh at all this stuff. I thought it was hysterical, okay? That's why I asked y'all to raise your hands if you're ageist, okay? Because every single one of us grew up with all this and are subjected to it still on a daily basis. But this is where we've come to. So now you know what it is. So look, you're getting out early because that's how easy it is. We saw it, right? Yeah, not so much. Okay, if it were that easy, you could just pluck it and be done with it and move on. But just like racism, which still is not over, just like sexism, which, hello, it's taking a rebound, right? This is a long fight. And this is what it does to us. Anybody know what this is? Kudzu. So what is kudzu? Right. It's an invasive weed. It actually came from, I think it's Japan, right? But it looks pretty, you know, like you're driving down the road and you see all this pretty greenery, right? That's ageism. It seems innocuous. No problem with those cards, you know, getting older. No problem with that. Oh, come on, can't you take a joke? That's what I'm told. Can't you take a joke? This is what happens when you don't take care of it. It will kill your culture change journey because it will swallow you up. And it does this, you know. It does. It'll cover everything. So you have to be able to recognize it when you see it. And it's not always that blatant, like I've been showing you. Those are very blatant. But again, we can laugh at them until we're aware. We think it's funny. Right? But in fact, Laura, let's just take a 5-minute. Can you hand out the handouts for me? And I can help. So here's some compliments. I just want you to spend like 5 minutes. Want me to hand some out? Yes. Yes, that would go faster. I hope I have enough. You guys, probably more than, you may have to share. Okay. Oh, I would love that. Thank you. So again, these are those subtle things that happen to us as we age. So at a grocery store, shopping, you know, go up to the checkout line and say hello to the cashier. She's very nice. big smile, and you know, she rings up all my stuff and we're chatting. That's all I brought. I'm sorry, if anybody wants, I'll be happy to share them. Can you share them for today's sake, and I'll make sure you get copies.
Anyone here is willing to give up one and share with your neighbor?
I think it is on the app. I think I uploaded the handout on the app. So she's finished and she's taken my money and she says, have a nice day, young lady. And I felt like I was punched. I didn't say, have a nice day, cashier lady. I didn't put her in a box, right? Have a nice day. Why did she feel it necessary to give me a role to play, young lady, or to think she was being nice in her mind, but it felt like I got punched. So let's just take, I don't know, let's try for like 3 or 4 minutes. In your tables, just talk about one that jumps out at you, and maybe just talk among yourselves what it felt like if you experienced this, or if you saw it happen or something in your community, in your own life. Okay, so maybe just about 3 minutes. Okay, guys, let's hear. Is anybody willing to share? See, when you get them discussing, they can't stop. Okay, guys, can we come back to the big group? Is there anyone willing to share one brief instance of what you discussed at your table? One of those compliments?
And let me just add that I will be asking you to speak in the mic for the purposes of the recording only.
Right.
Okay?
Who wants to share one? There you go, Dottie.
Well, I speak with the voice of experience, and the young man, I went, my husband is here with me, and we went down to ride the Ferris wheel last night, and the guy who was taking tickets referred to both of us as young lady and young man, and asked if we were on our first date.
Wow.
And I was pretty appalled.
See?
But
Doesn't feel
we have a couple
good.
people here who are older who, you know, we're talking about those daily experiences.
Right.
Of when are you going to retire? Oh, I hope I look like you when I'm that old.
Right.
You don't seem that old.
But they're compliments, and that's where we have to get people, because they think they're being nice. They don't realize that there's something behind that. Well, anyway, let's hear one more. A different one if you have.
Well, I've got one that's, I think we didn't talk about it at the table, but I have one that is amusing. In 2015, I took my granddaughter to see a Taylor Swift concert, and her surprise guest was Mick Jagger, which just rocked me beyond belief. I was so surprised that I was so stunned. All I could say is, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I must have said it 13, 14 times. And my daughter-in-law taped it. And my son thought Taylor Swift should see it, to see what she had done, how she had, brought on a surprise guest. And so Taylor Swift was so pleased, she put it on her Twitter, and it went viral. And it was just all over the media. And it's had like 500,000 hits. And Billboard magazine and MTV. And when I was in the airport, it was on Good Morning America and the Today Show. And it was on Kelly and Regis. Mm-hmm. And Kelly's comment after she saw the video said, oh my God, it always starts with 72-year-old grandmother. Okay. And when she finished watching it, she said, oh my goodness, she looks good for 72. I hope I look that good when I'm 72.
National
Long
TV.
story, but that was
National
from a celebrity.
TV. Wow. Thank you, Rosie. Wow. So this is the kind of stuff that I'm going to just keep it at those two, Laura, for now. These are the kinds of things that you have to look for, because these are the undercurrents. This is the constant undercurrent that we have, right? It's the subtlety of ageism. But I'll bet lots of you have heard this term. What does that mean? What is successful aging? I heard a What's like aging gracefully, which again means acting young. Okay. Acting young. Any more on that? What is six?
Appearance, about looking.
It's about look.
We're always presented with these images of, the Jane Fondas and the people who say, I spend a lot of money on the way I look, and that's what we're supposed to do. They don't show pictures of people who look age appropriate and say, hey, she's doing pretty well.
Right.
So I get very confused by that we are given these very rare examples of youthful aging people, and that's held up to us as how we're supposed to be.
Supposed to be, right, right. So this woman, I forget her name, she's 93. Do you think she just started gymnastics like a few years ago? I think she's awesome. Look at what she's doing, and she's 93 years old. Is that great? Yeah. Is that successful aging? It's not unusual for her, right? But this is what we see. The big actresses who, again, like Jane Fonda, spend all the money on to look younger, and they're still in movies, still in films. But she's successful, but she's successful because she's done this all her life. And she's not successful only because she's doing gymnastics. This woman's 93 as well, okay? The beautiful woman in the black dress is my sister-in-law. And this was this summer when we were up in Chicago. And my niece got married. And Jean, Kathleen's mother, is 93. And she's no longer able to walk very much. She uses a wheelchair for the most part. But she made such an effort to be at her niece's wedding, which was in their garden, by the way. It was lovely. Thanks for asking. But Jean, is she successfully aging? Right? Of course. But we don't see this woman because she doesn't look like that, even though the woman on the right has a lot of wrinkles, and Jean doesn't. God bless her for her skin tone. But we don't see her as successful. We see the doing, okay? Still being able to do what we did as adults, okay? So if we are really living our next part of life, our elderhood, and we are moving more into the being part of life rather than the doing, people don't see that as successful. But that's really what it's all about. That's the successful aging, being your best and thriving, okay? So the outliers are the ones you're going to see everywhere, okay? I want you to see something else. We'll try another one. Has anyone seen this? Okay.
Hey, how's it going? You can stand right there. That's your mark. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Great.
Awesome.
Just tell us your first name and your age.
My real age?
My name is Paolo. I'm 25 years old.
My name is Daniela, and I'm 19.
24. 35.
31. 33.
I'm 26 years old.
What age do you consider to be old?
Late 40s?
Maybe 50.
I feel like 30 is a new 20, so I'd say like 40 is old.
I'd probably say 50s.
I'd like you to show me how an old person would cross the street. Show me how an old person would send a text message. How might an old person do a push-up? What about jumping jacks? Okay, hang on. There's someone I want you to meet.
Hello, I'm Birch. I'm 66.
Hi, I'm Daphne, and I'm 68.
I'm Dee, and I'm 55.
George Fassbinder, 75.
My name is Parvati. I'm 70.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're gonna give you about 2 minutes to teach each other something that you are good at.
I can teach you a jump that I do.
Okay, please.
Both of your legs go up, and your arm goes up, and your left arm goes like to the side. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Lift 1, 2, 3. And bring it to your heart. And bring it to your heart. Add the head in. Yeah.
You want to try to get your balance and raise up. Now, you can bring your legs and your feet up. It's hard, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So when you come out of a turn, either way, you go back to that basis.
Over. Now forward. Over. Yeah.
Square it like this, and give me a hook. Hook. Jab, cross, hook, and then we'll go like this, all right?
1, 2, 3.
Now, what age might you consider to be old?
Probably 80 or 90. He could just do everything that I told him to do. An age that I would consider to be old now might be 100.
Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I said in the 50s, I thought that would be old. But when I thought about it, like...
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
I can do it. It really changed my thinking of what old is. You've taught me something today. Clearly, there's no way she's old, you know?
Now I know from today, hey, I don't look at age.
At my age, I feel like I did when I was in my 20s.
There's so many things that I still want to do. There's so many things that I can do. As long as I'm growing and learning, then age doesn't matter.
When people start stopping, that's when they start getting old.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daphne.
It was great meeting you.
How long have you been doing this? Is this a new skill?
40 years.
Okay, so now how about that film? Anybody, you want to grab that mic in case we have comments?
I was so drunk.
Please. Love to hear some feedback.
Well, the thing that...
Whoa, careful, Laura.
The thing that impresses me, and I know that we need to do more of, is getting the generations to talk to each other. It's we're always afraid of what we don't know, you know, and it's we used to be afraid of the Russians until we started the people-to-people programs, and so if you meet one and you get to know them, then so I think that that's what I saw is the importance of getting the generations together.
That is very important. Great, thanks, Rose. And, oh, right next to you.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, please.
So, as an aging person, I know what it's like to be young. The young people in the film didn't seem to have much knowledge of what it's like to be older or what it's like to age. And it's just interesting to talk to people who are not like you and to be in a candid or group that's willing to be vulnerable and hear people say, I've never talked to an old person before, or I've never talked to a person from another country.
Right.
So yeah, the dialogue is really important.
Okay, great. Anybody else have anything they want to say? Right here, Joan? Right over here. Thank you.
I was just going to say, many years ago, we had a candy striper program at a nursing home. And what I saw was the children that were in that program, and they had to be as young, they could be as young as 11. And they changed their attitudes. And so they'd be out with their friends, and some would make a negative comment about that old lady or old man, and they would immediately challenge them.
Awesome. Yeah, the intergenerational, bringing them together and having discussion and getting to know each other, the relationships, right? Oops, we have one in the back. Laura, would you mind? All the way in the back.
But we have to get you on
For the film.
Okay.
I was going to piggyback on your comment. I think it's so important that we start very young, and I know in my home we're bringing in the nursery schools and the babies programs, and then we work into the grade 2s and the grade 6s. So it is important, you know, to break those barriers down
It
very
sure
young.
is. Right. Thank you. Anybody have anything different? That one? Thank you, because I would fall. Thank you. Anybody? Okay, good. Thank you, Joyce.
When we talked before, I loved the interaction and the intergenerational, and I could talk about a facility that I worked in that had the on-site child care center. And when you could see the new kids coming in the fall when they first came in, we would have an event, and I usually played for chapel, and they would go by and greet everybody and spend some time talking to the elders. And the first new little kids were big-eyed, and it was kind of like all of their wheelchairs and walkers and all kinds of adaptive sorts of equipment. And the kids, had the big eyes, and they were 6 feet away, and it was like that was about as close as they felt comfortable coming for that first time through. And by the time they were there for a couple of weeks, they were going up and standing and chatting and patting hands, and there were lots of little finger kisses and face pats and all of those kinds of things. And suddenly, all of those tools disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing about the video, they're still doing.
Thank you, Joyce. So, did you hear what Joyce said? It's all about doing. I don't need that. I do that, I talk into both. I applaud AARP, and this is one of their featured videos for Disrupt Aging. And I'm gonna challenge you, because what is the underlying message in this video? Yes, the intergenerational is awesome. It is all about doing, but what are they saying?
Well, we're saying successful aging is being able, physically, having a physical able body and still being, these people are all still dancing and
Right.
if you're not doing that,
Right.
then you're old. So this is now the new old.
But the question, yes, it is. But the question she asked is, what age is old? And so, why is there something wrong with old? That's the undertone that I felt throughout the thing. There's still something wrong with old. I got hands up, Laura. Thank you. I'm just, did you want to say something, Mike? You can talk to my mic, Mike.
I see it as getting to know us, get to know who we are.
Okay.
Yeah, really, meet us where we're at.
Meet us where we're at, okay? There was one over here on the other side of Justin. And I gotta move us on.
I know you need it for recording. It's bad because the inference is that old is bad.
Bad, yes.
That's what makes it. It's great in many ways.
Right.
But that's still,
that's
that 60 is the new 40, whatever. The inference is still that being old is bad, being young is good.
Yep.
It's that simple.
That's exactly what I saw too. Thank you. It's one of the most ageist things I've seen. Okay? So the reason I wanted to show you this is because it's actually an older film, but before I made my first presentation on this, a friend sent it to me knowing I talk about ageism and said, "You're gonna love this." And I was horrified. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna use it for that reason, okay? This is the subtlety of what's happening. We're still saying old is bad. And you're good if you can still do those jumping jacks, if you can still move, if you can twirl that scarf. Then you're not old, which of course is bad, okay?
Can I?
Yes, please. I hope you are.
So, when I watched this, I really, really tried to stay as neutral as possible. And, I did see a step in the right direction in terms of trying to have conversations about individualism. But notice that the request that was made was, show them something you do well. That was the only way that they could express themselves as an individual. So, again, it's all about learning to ask the right questions, isn't it?
Yep, it totally is. And I know we're going to be short on time, so I'm going to whip through. Well, I always forget with videos you have to go back and change the slide that way. So what does this do in healthcare and in our communities? How does this play out? For the sake of time, I'm going to jump into this privilege, power, and oppression. Okay, so all of us know this. Privilege gives benefits to the members of the dominant group at the expense of the target group. In this case, older people. The problem is it's invisible to the people who are displaying it. All of us are ageist. We just don't see what we're doing. That's why we're bringing light to this. This is a scratch on the board, is all I can do in an hour. This goes deep, okay? Frequently, those of us in that dominant group, we don't even know, due to our privilege, that we're seeing, sorry, I just should read the darn thing. We're unaware that they are members of the dominant group, okay? We don't see ourselves as that person having privilege due to the privilege of being able to see themselves as people rather than a stereotype. Don't even know we have it, okay? And how does that play out? Disenfranchised. Think about the communities where you work. Think about the community, the greater community where you live. Disenfranchised, exploited, victimized in a variety of ways. Subject to containment. Do we put people in locked units that we very nicely call memory communities? Okay, that's containment. Having their choices and movements restricted and limited. Do we do that? Often. They're seen as expendable, not consciously, but they're compartmentalized into narrowly defined roles. We know those awful words, okay? They're subjected to exploitation, marginalization, powerlessness, and violence. This is not written about ageism. This is just about targets of oppression. And that's what older people have become, targets of oppression in our society. This is why we have elder abuse. This is why greedy granny is so awful. We teach children to steal from the granny, okay? Subject to exploitation, okay? So we really need advocates, and you've given everybody? Mm-hmm. So you all now are officially advocates, okay? So what do you do as an advocate? Oh, that's not nice. So what do we do? Who do we get? Okay, we have to educate people just like we've raised awareness here. We need to raise awareness in the communities we work. And I want to go back just 1 second to what is it, how does it display itself? It's worth it for, I don't care if we don't get through everything. I do want to hear, how does it display in the communities where you work? How does ageism display in the communities where you work, where you live? Somebody in the back, I think, Laura.
Did I see that hand go up?
I did.
I just had a comment that created a challenge for us in our community back in Nova Scotia. I had it brought to our residents' council or our elder council that they didn't want to be called elders, that they found that that word in itself labeled them as being old and trapped them and confined them. So we have now reverted as an Eden home back to residents, and that's what they wanted to be called. They would be a resident in their house if they lived on a street. They're a resident in their community now at Willow Lodge. So.
And it's certainly the elder's choice. It's my choice on what I want to be called, right? So it's all, that's totally fine. It should be their choice. But how does ageism play out in the homes where you work, the communities you work in? Let me ask you, okay, Dottie.
Well, in the work that I do
Right
a lot
up
of
close.
training for case managers.
Right up close.
I do a lot of training for case managers, and they're constantly telling me how cute their clients are.
Okay.
So I don't think they're seeing them as wise, experienced people who've lived a life of solving problems and raising children and all of those things.
I agree. So calling people cute, okay? Go ahead, we have up here, Pauline.
So,
Thank you.
So when I think of our community, I think it affects the volunteer base. There's a lot of people that don't want to volunteer or don't see us as a place to come and volunteer. particularly young people, in Canada, they need to have 40 hours of volunteer time, and you'd think we'd have, droves of them coming in, and they don't. There's a bit of fear around working with older people. And I also think of sometimes new graduate nurses don't see long-term care, retirement care, nursing as real nursing, because it's with old people and there's nothing, So we have to debunk that. If you can get a good nurse in, then they either love it. And then I still think with our team members too, there's still a lot of that lovey, deary, sweetie. And we, old people are so cute. Because, every single person in the world is cute, right? Because old people are just regular people that are at a different stage of life, right? We're not all nice.
That's right. I'm going to take this one last one, and then we're going to just wrap up a little bit here.
I see a lot of low expectations for the possibility of growth and trying new things. And it's more like let's entertain or be entertained or play games rather than be stimulated and grow.
Right. Thank you. Perfect, Joan. And thanks, Laura. So think about that with your care partners who are giving personal care too, right? How are they seeing this person? And they're loving and they're kind. I'm not taking that away. But if they see them as cute, then there's that underlying force. So what we need to do is really educate, right? That's where this advocacy, like Rosemary is, we need advocates. And if you're going to, everybody should be an advocate. This shouldn't be a limited list. Okay? You need to make a plan here. So what do? We have to work on our language. Take away the word cute. We want to focus on well-being, okay? And use learning circles and have open discussions. So we all know this. And if you've been around Eden for any time, you know words make worlds. And the word can change the meaning, the mood, and the motivation behind what you're doing. So Dr. Bill tells us about the tyranny of still too. We'll run through this. So I'll just give you one quote that Dr. Bill Thomas used. It's our culture's inability to see the value of life beyond adulthood that traps them in a desperate and ultimately doomed effort to continue living as adults. And he's referring to old people. Okay? It's our culture's inability to see the value of life beyond adulthood. Okay? That's the tyranny of still. Okay? So we talk about people still doing things, right? Still volunteering, still driving, still working. Okay? So that's one of those words we need to change. And one of your handouts has a lot of different language changes. There's nothing wrong with these words in and of themselves, except you shouldn't be using them with older people. Okay? They're not burdens. They're not non-communicative. Okay? Let's change our language and change the mood surrounding how we work with older people. And instead of using these words, and you've got these, let's focus on well-being. If we focus on someone's identity and if they're feeling connected and have meaning and purpose and growth, like Joan said, and joy, okay, and choice, if they have autonomy, who cares? Who cares if I'm 61 or 48, right? It doesn't matter. If these are the most wonderful words. I love them. I use them in everything I do because when we focus on this, everything else falls away. Focus on people's well-being. Doesn't matter how old they are. That's what I say, anyway. So what do? We have to educate people. Just like I planted seeds with you, have different age groups involved. That's what you guys were even saying, right? Find examples in current media, events, movies, whatever, and start a discussion. Use learning circles. And again, I'll tell you about Ashton Applewhite. You have some sample question, just discussion starters, okay? Get a learning circle together in your organization. Use these sometimes. Focus on ageism once a week, once a month. I don't care, just focus on it. Let's get this going. We need this movement to happen. And then one more thing I just want to pop into here, because I know it's time. You have an action plan there. Think about what we talked about, and I'm sorry it's only an hour. Not my choice, but what that you heard today will you start doing? Just think of one or two things. What will you stop doing? There was a whole litany of things you can stop. What is it that you're doing good and you're going to continue on? Okay? And get yourself one or two things that you can do in the next week, because when you forget about it, right, it goes away, you get back to work and it falls to the side. Think about one or two things you can do next week. Start this movement. We need people to make it a snowball effect. Okay? Go out and educate and advocate. Okay? I thank you all for being here. My name is Mel Coppola, and my information is here. Thank you.